Today we are in, this is Algebra 1 test for week number 16. Our study guide. Number 1 asks us, which graph is the most appropriate to describe a quantity decreasing at a steady rate? Decreasing means it's going down. So this one's going up right here, so this ain't it. This one's going up and then steady, then down, then over, then up, then going down. This one ain't it. This one's decreasing, letter D, but it's going down faster at first and then it's slowing down as it's going. It's not steady. The only one that's steady is C as in cat. Okay, number 2 is finding X and Y intercepts. Way easier than people are thinking this is right now. All you need to do is to find the X intercept. You plug in 0 for Y. So 2x plus 3 times 0, because you plug it in for the opposite one you're looking for, equals negative 18. So that means 2x plus 0 equals negative 18. So what it does is it takes this part of the problem away and leaves you with 2x equals negative 18. When you divide by 2, you get the x-intercept at negative 9. The x-intercept is where it's going to cross through the x-axis. So that means it's going to be at negative 9 is where it's going to cross through at this point here, at negative 9. So that point is not just negative 9, but it's x comma y. So you know x's value, it's negative 9, comma, y's value we plugged in 0. So that's the x-intercept, negative 9, 0. In order to find the y-intercept, you do the same thing, except now instead of plugging in x for y, you're going to plug in 0 for x. So 2 times 0 plus 3y equals negative 18. Again, 2 times 0 is 0 plus 3y. So what you do is you eliminate that part of the problem. And it's just like saying 3y equals negative 18. When you divide by 3, you get y equals negative 6. So again, it's x comma y. So we plugged in 0 in place of x. So 0 comma negative 6 is your y-intercept, or at negative 6. Do the same thing. We'll go a little bit quicker for number 3. Plug in 0 in place of y. 7 times x minus 4 times 0 will eliminate it and make it equal to 84. Most of y'all will be able to understand that step. Plugged in 0 there. Negative 4 times 0 made it say minus 0. So there's no reason to put that. Divide by 7 on both sides. 7 goes into 8 one time, and there's 2 left over. Or there's 1 left over, so that makes 14. It goes into 2 times. So the x-intercept is 12. So again, it's x comma y, or 12 comma, we plugged in 0 for y. That's your x-intercept. In order to find the y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. So 7 times 0 minus 4y equals 84. Negative 4y equals 84. Divide by negative 4 on both sides. Negative 4 goes into 8 negative 2 times, and it goes into itself 1 time. So y equals negative 21. So written as an ordered pair, x comma y again, your y-intercept is 0, negative 21. Number 4 says Lena makes home deliveries for a grocery supermarket. Only stops after she leaves the supermarket or at traffic lights and the homes where she makes the deliveries. The graph shows her distance from the store on her first trip for the day. What is the greatest possible number of stops she made at traffic lights? So that's the question we're trying to understand. Okay, she stops 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, but she makes a delivery at number 3. That's why it's not like that, because she makes a delivery at 3, so only 3 times did she actually stop at traffic lights. She has to make that one delivery. So how many is the maximum, greatest possible number she stops at traffic lights? 3 times. Then we evaluate and for this, you read this as f of x equals 4x minus 5, just in place of X, it says plug in 1. So f of x or f of 1, you don't do anything with that side. Just treat it like it says y equals 4 times 1 minus 5. 4 times 1 we know is 4 minus 5. So f of 1 or y equals 4 minus 5, which is negative 1. Do the same thing with the other one, except now you have a fraction involved in it. Y equals, again, just look at it as if it said y, 1 over 4 times x, which is negative 6. We can put everything over 1. So now you could either cross cancel 4 and negative 6, or you can multiply straight across and see what you get. 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. 4 times 1 is 4. So we have y equals negative 6 over 4, but the number 2 goes into both. It goes into negative 6 negative 3 times, and it goes into 4 2 times. So f of negative 6 equals negative 3 over 2. Then for number 7, we're solving this inequality. Normally you put your variable terms, you put them on the side that'll make them larger, or you bring the smaller one over. But when you're doing inequalities, a lot of times it's easier to bring them to the left every time where you can read them easier. So let's bring 18 or positive 18c over by subtracting it. If you subtract it on that side, subtract it on this side. So 16c minus 18c is negative 2c. Minus 15 is less than or equal to, that'll cancel out 7. You brought c to the right, so bring minus 15 over to the left. You bring minus 15 over to the right. Negative 2c, that'll cancel, is less than or equal to 22. Then get c by itself by dividing by negative 2. Do the same here. A positive divided by negative is a negative 11. And this will cancel out and leave you with c. Do you leave the sign alone or do you reverse it? We divide them by a negative number. That's the chance of, that's the time when you reverse it, and you call it c is greater than or equal to negative 11. Before you do any simplifying on number 8, or before you try to cancel anything, distribute. Simplify everything on each side as you can. Negative 2g. Negative 2 times negative 18. Don't forget there's a negative in front of that 18. It makes it positive 36. Bring everything else down. G plus 8 minus 2g plus 36. Again, simplify everything on, as we'll call it, the left side right now. 1g minus 2g is negative 1g, or negative g. Positive 8 and positive 36 is plus 44. Bring plus 44 over by subtracting it. Remember, there's more than one way to do this if you did it another way. Negative g. All we did was subtract it right there. We didn't multiply or divide by a negative, so leave the sign alone. It's greater than negative 44. Now that says negative 1 times g. So undo that by dividing by negative 1. If you do it here, do it here. Negative divided by negative we know is a positive. And now we divide it by a negative number, so greater than becomes less than. G is less than 44. Graphing the inequality, x is less than or equal to negative 4. Just show where negative 4 is in relation to 0. Show that it's on the left side. Less than or equal to means the bubble is colored in. Less than means it's going to the left. Less than and left both start with an L. They both have L in them. Then write the inequality for the shown graph. You have the number 2 is highlighted for you. So just write x and write 2. And to determine which way it's going this way, so make it go that way. And then determine, lastly, do you have to color, or is the bubble colored in or not? If it is, it would say or equal to. It's an open bubble, so this is our inequality. X is less than 2. Number 11, a number exceeds 30. Think of getting a ticket for exceeding the speed limit. 30 miles an hour would be okay. So x and 30. Exceeds means it's got to be bigger than. The only question you're going to have is it equal to, is it greater than or equal to or just greater than? Think of exceeding the speed limit. You would have to actually go 31 to technically break the law to exceed it. So 30 would be okay. So only exceeding would not be or equal to. In order to solve this equation, distribute 6 times y and 6 times 2. and then start undoing. Undo your addition first. 6y equals 18. Then undo your multiplication. Y equals 3. Okay, we're solving and graphing each of these four equations. You can write this negative at both the top and the bottom. It actually saves you a step if you write it like this at the bottom, or if you think of that negative as being on the bottom. That says x divided by negative 3. You know how to cancel out divided by negative 3. You multiply by it. Do it here as well. It'll cancel out and leave you with x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9, but we multiplied by a negative number. This is one of those times where we have to reverse that less than or equal to sign and make it say greater than or equal to. Then graph the solution. Again, you don't have to be fancy with your graph. Just show where negative 9 is, that it's on the left side of 0 like that. Greater than or equal to means you color the bubble in the or equal to part. Greater than has an or in the name. So it's everything to the right. Or you can look here and see that it says point it that way. That says x divided by 4, just like the last one. Cancel it out by multiplying by 4, but now we're not multiplying both sides by a negative number. So we have x and we have negative 24. Do we reverse the sign or do we leave it? What are we multiplying by, positive or negative? So do we reverse it or do we leave it? We leave it. So this is a case where we leave it greater than or equal to negative 24. The graph is going to look exactly like the last one with a different number. Greater than or equal to, color the bubble in, or greater than means everything to the right. For the next one, negative 6g is less than negative 18. Divide by negative 6. Do it here as well. Negative divided by negative is a positive. So you have g and you have 3. We're dividing both sides by a negative number. So less than becomes greater than. Greater than 3 is going to look just like this. Now 3 is on this side. It doesn't say or equal to now. So it's going to be an open bubble and everything that way. Notice, compare that one to numbers 13 and 14. We had closed bubbles for both of them. Number 16 is a compound inequality. Instead of just having a left and a right like 13, 14, and 15, it has a left, a middle, and a right. Whatever you do to the middle, you have to do it to the rest of the inequality, the rest of the problem. So you have to undo minus 4 first by adding it. If you do it to the middle, add 4 to the left and add it to the right. Negative 4 plus 4 is 0. You have 2x in the middle. It cancels out negative 4 plus 4, and then 10 plus 4 is 14. There's no reason to reverse any of the symbols because all you did was added a number. So leave less than or equal to and leave less than. The other thing you have to do is get rid of 2 times x in the middle by dividing it. If you divide the middle, divide the left and the right. 0 divided by anything is 0. They'll cancel out and leave you with x. 14 divided by 2 is 7. You divided everything by a number here, but it was only by a positive number. So again, we're going to leave the sign just like it is, less than or equal to and less than. This is your compound inequality. Graph it on a number line. All you need to show is 0 and 7 here. This part right here says x is less than 7, so it's showing everything that direction. The other one says x is greater than or equal to 0 when you read it backwards. If you need to look at this part right here, or put it in another color, if you need to look at this part and reverse it to say x and 0 on that way, make sure the mouth opens to the x or the point points to the 0. Greater than or equal to means color it in and everything that way. So you're talking about the numbers between 0 and 7, counting 0 but not counting 7. It says on a road to Rochester, the maximum speed is 50, the minimum speed is 20. So you can't go lower than 20. You have to go in between 20 and 50. Everybody understands you got to go between 20 and 50. It is okay to go 50, so you have to go less than 50, but it's okay to go 50, so or equal to. It is not okay to go 19 miles an hour, but 20 miles an hour is acceptable. This one's going that direction. Make this one match the same direction. But again, you're able to go 20, not 19, so they're both or equal to. 18 says write the compound inequality. There's no overlap here, so we know that that's an OR inequality. So do this first when you have x and -1, and this second one x and 4, and just call it in, make in the appropriate symbol. It says less than -1, and it's not colored in, so it's just, it doesn't have the bubble underneath. It's not or equal to. This one says greater than because it's going to the right, but it is colored in, so that makes it or equal to. Since it's an or inequality, you simply write the word or in between them. So x is less than -1, or x is greater than or equal to 4. 19 says all real numbers h that are less than -2 or greater than 7. -2 and 7. This is just like the problem from Rochester, New York. Put x between -2 and 7. It has to be less than, oh, I'm sorry, I wrote it wrong. Change it up. It says or, remember, that's the key. That's the first thing you want to check, or. So x is less than -2, just write it just like it's written, or x is greater than 7. There's your compound inequality. Less than -2 or greater than 7. Then solve this compound inequality. It's an or one again, so look at it as two separate problems. Look at this one first. Get rid of -2 by adding it to both sides. 8x is less than -8. Get rid of multiply by 8 by dividing it on both sides. X, you have -1 on this side. You leave the symbol alone because you don't divide by a negative number. Do the same thing to the other side. Subtract 6. 4x is greater than 4. Divide by 4. X is greater than 1. So it says solve the compound inequality, or, so x is less than -1, or x is greater than 1.